All right, welcome back, everybody, for the special Super Bowl edition of the 2-on-1 Fast Break. Joining us via cell phone is Dan Erda, our NFL handicapper. Some circumstances don't allow him to be in the studio with us today, but got to get those props out to you. It's the biggest football game of the year, so looking out for you guys and trying to make do with what we got. So, Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I refused to miss American Idol, so I had to do it from my own place.
That show's still going on, is it?
It's still going on, and my book still has odds up on who's going to win this year.
All right, so you're still in the scouting phase for your big wager on who will be the next American Idol. Is that what's going on?
Absolutely. If I missed my future bet on American Idol because I was too busy talking to you about the Super Bowl, I'd never be able to forgive myself.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of 30 to 45-year-old women out there that agree with you. All right, so I wanted to ask you, where does the Super Bowl rank for you on like biggest gambling events of the year? Because I know in one of your columns you mentioned how you enjoy the regular season in the NFL more than the playoffs, just because you got all the huge slate of games and everything, and you got a lot more you're able to wager on. But Super Bowl, biggest gambling day of the year probably for non-gamblers. You know, everybody watches the Super Bowl. They got their box pools, their little questionnaires like what will the first commercial be and all that stuff. So a lot more people getting involved with wagering that usually don't. So how's this Sunday going to stack up for you on the calendar?
Well, I don't know if you consider this answer any kind of a cop-out, but it all depends on the situation. It is a great thing for gamblers because everyone becomes a gambler on the Super Bowl, whether you're betting on fun props or you're betting on a side. But for the most part, most of the people who are doing that are just doing it for fun. They're not doing what we do throughout the year, which is really trying to make this money-making endeavor. The one thing I really do like about the Super Bowl is because of how much public action there is, when you get a guy like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning at the Super Bowl, there's often a lot of value on taking the points to the other side because the line is made knowing the public's going to be all over that superstar golden boy athlete.
Yeah, everybody and their mother has heard of Peyton Manning, and they're going to see him and hear all the talk about how he's going to be the regular season MVP, and he put up a record number of points this season, that Broncos offense. So any square out there is obviously going to be on the Broncos, and I think the line movement from the initial open has really reflected that as it's gone all the way up to 2.5, and it's probably going to hit 3 by Sunday.
Well, it went to 3 on one of the first couple of days. It was out for like 20 minutes, and I was lucky enough to grab it. I'm one of the only people I know who actually have the full 3, and I'm very happy, although I don't think I'm going to need it. I think Seattle's going to win this game, but I actually think it's telling that it's set at 2.5 for the last couple of days. They're not going back up to 3, and I think that's because they're loving the money coming in on Denver. I actually really, really, really like Seattle.
Okay, so you're on Seattle plus 3. It's certainly great that you got that on that key number like that. I mean, we'll see. I think
I did have to lay minus 115. Usually the bets on my book are all minus 110. I did have to lay the extra 5 cents, but I was happy to do so.
Yeah, well, it's 5 cents between friends and bookkeepers. So you're on Seattle. I think we've discussed this on the podcast before. I have my futures bet before the season for Seattle to win the Super Bowl. So I'm still riding them, hoping they pay off for me on that at 10-1. And then we're going to go into props. But one of the things I did to kind of hedge my Super Bowl future is I took Peyton Manning MVP, and I got him at plus 110. Which is obviously better than the odds of just the Broncos winning the game, which is minus 145 right now for the Denver money line. So I can't imagine a scenario where Denver wins the game and Peyton Manning is not the MVP. Can you?
I cannot. And did you put this bet in recently?
Yeah, it was today. Today I put it in.
That's pretty cool. He's got Peyton Manning at plus 110 today. My spot actually has Peyton Manning with minus 140. My book is not always the best when it comes to like futures and prop bet lines. But I was thinking was I have Russell Wilson at plus 200, and then a quarterback pretty much wins that every year. But if I could get plus 110 and plus 200, and that book was plus side. That's not a bad proposition.
Yeah, I think it's even higher on mine. Just pulling it up now. Russell Wilson plus 350 on my book for MVP. And then
I guess it's different with Seattle than most teams because Marshawn Lynch is such a big part of their offense and their defense is such a big part of their game that it's not like most teams where if they win the game, you can pretty much lock it down for the quarterback.
right, Lynch is plus 600, which is, it's good. 6-1 is kind of high, but for a running back, that's very low for an MVP award. So obviously, the quarterbacks are pretty predominantly the MVP when their teams win in these situations, and you kind of feel like Peyton. He's been fated all year to end up in this situation after the opening night game against Baltimore with the 7 TDs and the way the media's been talking him up, like, oh, one last run for Peyton and all that. It just seems like even if he throws for 2 touchdowns, he's going to get the MVP award. He doesn't need to have the huge game.
Yeah, exactly. Because even if a receiver catches 3 touchdowns, Peyton Manning would have thrown those 2 touchdowns, and he'll get the sentimental vote. I think if Denver wins the game, I'd be shocked if anybody else, unless Peyton Manning throws 4 interceptions and Denver still wins the game, which would never happen. I don't see how he would get it.
Yeah, if Eric Decker gets 3 touchdowns, they're not giving Eric Decker the MVP award. I don't care what kind of line he put up. It's going to go to Peyton, in my opinion. Anyway.
Stephen Hauska is plus 8,500 to win the MVP. I mean, I can absolutely see a game on 5 field goals or defense a minute. They win like a 22 to 21 kind of game. I don't plus 8,500. That's not a bad little gamble.
I mean, you do what you want. I'm not putting any money on the kicker to win MVP.
I actually, one of the first, before I actually had a bookie, before I was actually betting like real, one of the first things I ever bet on with a friend was like Patriots' first Super Bowl with Brady. During the game in the Super Bowl, like right when it ended, I made a bet with a friend that Vinatieri was going to win the MVP, and my friend took Brady, and I lost, and I still think that was ridiculous. Vinatieri won that game for them.
If ever there was a Super Bowl where a kicker could have won MVP, that would have been it. And it shows you that even with Vinatieri's performance in that one, that he still didn't even win MVP. I don't think Hauschka is a smart play. I don't care what the odds are.
I agree. That's more of one of the silly props that gamble on, but I'm not actually going to put money on it. I just think it's possible.
All right. Well, anything is possible. So speaking of props, let's dive right into them. I got a few I've circled here that I like for Sunday. Why don't you start us off with one that you like?
All right, we'll go back and forth one by one. The first one, this isn't the first one I wrote down, but this is the one I like the most. So I'll get the one I like the most off first. I like Seattle Seahawks over 5 third down conversions at minus 110. I really like this bet because to get third down conversions, you have to have a lot of third downs. And I think Seattle's offense is geared right for that. They love to run the ball. You see a lot of like Marshawn Lynch, 4-yard run. Marshawn Lynch, 3-yard run. All of a sudden, it's 3rd and 3. Russell Wilson, 6-yard pass. Marshawn Lynch, 2-yard run. There you go. And I just think that they don't get yards in chunks. They get them bit by bit. And because of that, they're going to end up with a lot of third downs, and obviously that means they're going to have a lot more third down conversions as long as they play to their capabilities. I think they can get well over 5 third down conversions.
I agree with you. I like that one a lot, actually. So it's at 5, so 5's a push. You figure they're gonna have 1 or 2 scoring drives at least, and you're probably going to pick up a couple third down conversions each of those drives. And like you mentioned, they're not a prolific downfield passing attack. It's not like they pick up huge chunks in a passing game like Denver has the capability to. It's Golden Tate's he's not beating people 40 yards downfield. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see what kind of impact Percy Harvin might have, but I'm not counting on him coming off after he went out after the first few series with a concussion in the last game he tried to play. So.
Yeah, even though they do have a couple guys like Golden Tate can go deep, Harvin can go deep, Jermaine Kearse can go deep a little bit, it wouldn't really behoove Seattle to do that all so much. I think their whole game plan is going to be running the ball and shortening the game. because every minute of the game that Peyton Manning doesn't have the ball in his hands is a win for Seattle. So I think they're just going to milk the clock. They're going to keep running the ball, and when you run the ball, you get 3 or 4 yards a pop. You're going to have a lot of 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4s. I don't think 5 is a big number at all for them.
No, it's suspiciously low almost. I've never really seen a prop like that, so I don't know what the barometer is as far as comparing it to other lines and what they might have been, but it does seem very low. I think that's an easily achievable number, so I'm with you. I like that one.
All right, what do you got?
All right, so I mentioned the Manning MVP. One that as far as pure props go, the one I really like is under 4.5 sacks for the game, and that's at -140. I was reading a stat today that Peyton Manning in the playoffs has only been knocked down once in all his dropbacks. I think he had close to 100 dropbacks in the playoffs, and he's only been knocked down one time. So, people talk.
In fairness, look who he's played.
Well, I realize. Okay, yeah. Obviously, they don't have the type of defensive pass rush that Seattle has, but people talk ad nauseum about how Peyton can dissect the defense before the play, know where he has to get the ball out to, and we've seen over his career, even against good pass rushes, he's able to get the ball out in time before the rush has the time to get to him, and he's also the type of guy, he's not known as a mobile quarterback, and obviously he's in the latter stages of his career, so he's even lost some further mobility due to age and the injuries he's had. But he still has great pocket awareness and good movement within the pocket to avoid people and then step up and make the throws. So I don't see Seattle having a field day, even though they have good outside rushers on those ends, like Cliff Averill and Bennett and so forth. I don't see them having maybe more than 1 or 2 sacks against Manning the way he plays back there. And then Seattle, they just don't throw the ball very much. I mean, they're only going to drop back even 20 to 25 times in the game total. So not a lot of opportunities for Denver's pass rush to get over at him, and they're very injured on the defensive side of the ball. So I don't expect them to be doing as much damage on that side. We know Von Miller, their top corners out, so maybe they can't do press coverage as much and be able to throw some exotic blitzes in there. So I don't think the opportunity's there for the Denver defense, and I think Peyton is going to just neutralize the Seattle pass rush when they have the ball.
Yeah, and even if Denver does get loose on a couple times, Russell Wilson is great at escaping pressure and making plays even when there seems to be someone right in his face. So I definitely like that.
Yeah, so that's where I stand. I think 4.5 is, it seems low, but I really don't see either side getting more than 2 sacks, which is what it would take to go over that number. And -140, not too much juice there, so I think that's the prop I most like going into Sunday.
All right, I like it.
All right, so what's another one throwing out for us?
This one's at +120. It's the only one that I'm playing that's actually a plus prop, and that is, yes, will both teams make a field goal of at least 33 yards? And I think Seattle's pretty much a lock to do so, because their offense is good. It's not great. I think they're going to get field goal range a lot, not necessarily score touchdowns. The aforementioned Hauska has a very good leg. I think they're going to get one of 33 or more yards. And the defense is good, and I think they're going to be able to hold Denver a couple times to a field goal. And 33 yards isn't very far. Of course, I could get screwed if Denver kicks a bunch of 24-yarders. But I think both kickers are good. The coaches trust both of the kickers. And to ask each one of them to kick one of slightly over 30 yards isn't a lot to ask at plus money.
Yeah, another thing helping your cause is the fact that not expected to be a lot of wind on Sunday. Obviously, that was a huge concern with the outdoor Super Bowl and everything, but looks like it's not going to be anything more than 5-mile-an-hour winds, and it's going to have little to no impact on the game as far as the passing attacks of both teams and the obviously the kicking game. So, I mean, with kickers, you never really know because it's all very situational as far as where teams get stopped when they're on that side of the field. And like you mentioned, if they're stopped inside the 10, and then they force to kick a field goal. That doesn't help you. And I don't know. I'd have to look at some stats from the previous games and see what happens. But it seems like that's pretty easily achievable. I mean, Prater's been lights out lately. He was hitting 50 plus yarders. Obviously, that was in Denver in the thin air and everything. But he's certainly capable of still 40 plus even outdoors. And Hauschka, as you mentioned, your dark horse MVP candidate. I guess you're loading up on that side of the ball. So, all right. It sounds good. I hate for us to keep agreeing with each other's picks, but you make a good case. So I'm with you on that one. So moving on.
What else you got for us?
All right. So another one I have. This is the first reception of the game for Noshawn Moreno. I have that being under 7.5 yards, and that's at minus 115. So it's basically, that's the toss-up line, and they juice it up a little bit because, it's Super Bowl props, and they're screwing people over with the minus 115. But my logic on this is the 7.5 is exceptionally high for a running back, and I even looked at the other running back lines for the same prop, and Monte Ball's line is at 4.5, and Marshawn Lynch's line is also at 4.5. So you have the two other prominent running backs involved in the game. They have their first reception line at 4.5, and then Moreno they have all the way up at 7.5. So I just don't see why there would be that huge disparity between those three running backs. I mean, obviously Moreno is used a little bit more in the passing game, but it's not like he's out running wheel routes on the side. It's still going to be dump downs from Manning, and there's a very good chance with the prominent Seattle linebackers in there that it's just going to go for a couple yards and he's not going to break it for 8 to 10. So that's where I stand with that.
I like it. It is kind of weird that the line is that number, is that high. But I mean, this isn't like a game where the books have all these crazy formulas and algorithms to figure things out. They pretty much are guessing, not as much as us, but they don't have any insight info here. I think you just found a bad line there.
Well, I do think they have some. I'm sure they have algorithms on this stuff, and they've looked at his reception distances over the course of the season when they set these lines. But it is a very suspicious disparity between himself and the other running backs, and the other guys they're at 4.5, and they were slight favorites to be the over in those instances. Like I think Ball was a minus 140 to be over 4.5. So you can see the juice narrowing that gap a little bit, but still, I just don't. It's going to be a dump off to Moreno. So is he going to break a tackle and make it a 10-yard gain, or is it just going to go for 3-4 yards? That's pretty much what it boils down to. And I will side with the Seattle defense in that instance.
Interesting to the question for those props for the three running backs. For those running backs, that's your reception or loss or push.
If it was a loss, that would be a win for you if you had the under, and then also if they don't have a reception, that's also a win for the under.
Okay.
So that's my second one. Why don't you throw it out there, see if we can find one that we disagree on here.
All right. Well, the next one is another one I like quite a bit. Wes Welker over 5.5 receptions. And the feeling on that has been like, yeah, Wes Welker's been there before. He's not going to be afraid of the moment or anything like that. And also, the corners and the secondary as good as the way they are for the Seahawks. I think that they're going to have to do a lot of quick passes, a lot of the Wes Welker kind of plays where throw to him right in the line of scrimmage and hope he can run for 6 or 7 yards. I mean, as good as Peyton Manning is, Seattle secondary is amazing. I don't think he's going to be one of throwing deep balls all day. He's going to want to set up some field position, set up some runs with some screens. I think Welker is going to have a pretty decent game, and I think 5.5 is a number he can very easily eclipse.
All right, well, you found one we disagree on. I am not high on Wes Welker in this game. I feel like I don't know. I feel like he's very injury prone going up against that Seattle defense. He's going to. I just don't like the idea of him doing those rub routes across the middle and against those big corners for Seattle and Bobby Wagner back there at linebacker or Earl Thomas back there in the middle. Just, I don't know. I think he's going to get lit up, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him leave the game with a minor injury or something, or a concussion or something like that. And even
then why don't you take the other prop bet, which is Wes Welker over 1.5 concussions sustained in this game?
Over 1.5? You think he's going to get 2 concussions?
I was joking. I'm joking about how Wes Welker's had about 9 concussions so far this year.
And he has, and I mean, that's why I really feel like, I hate to say it, but I don't know, I just have this feeling it's going to happen. And
yeah, I mean,
even beyond that, I'm looking at his game log here, his last 5 games, he's only eclipsed 5.5 receptions once, and that was the Chargers playoff game. He had 6 catches. But the other 4 games in the last 5, he had 4 catches, 3, 5, and 4. So just the fact that there's that injury possibility combined with the fact that more often than not lately he hasn't even been hitting that number. I don't think that I agree with you on the over on that one.
See, I'm just taking the defense into consideration a little more than you are. And I think that they're not going to be able to do the kind of offensive throws they usually do because they don't usually think secondary this good. So I think they're going to do a couple more short passes. But I mean, would I be surprised if he gets hurt? Absolutely not. I'm just not going to make my bets based on that.
No, and I'm not saying that the sole reason I would side against you is because of the injury possibility. But I think that's something that needs to be taken into account, along with the fact that he hasn't really been producing at a high level the last 6 weeks or so. So, all right, agree to disagree on that one.
Now, do you like the under, or are you just not playing it?
Well, I'm not playing that particularly, but I'm saying if I had to take a side, I would take the under.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Don't have to be on every one. So, alright, the last one I have it's a little bit higher of juice, but it's different Seahawks players to record a reception. They had the line at it's 7.5, and the under is minus 180, and I love this under a lot, even with the minus 180 juice. I'm looking back at the previous games for the Seahawks. They had, in the last Niners game, they had only 5 different players catch a ball. And then that Saints game, which you think if ever there was going to be a game they had to spread the ball around a little bit or whatever, maybe more of a high-scoring game against that good Saints offense, they still only had 6 different players catch a ball. So they're not even approaching that 7.5 number, and I can't even imagine who those other players would be that are going to catch those balls. I mean, maybe Michael Robinson or something. I just don't see. I don't see how they could get to 8 different players catching passes the way that their offense is constructed, and the fact that they don't throw the ball very much to begin with, let alone spray it out to different guys all throughout the field.
Yeah, I think that's a great bet. I did look at that. I don't like betting unders because it sucks if Russell Wilson just dumps the play off to his fullback. It's a nothing play, but it goes against your prop. But I don't understand why they set the line the way they did. I think you were on the right side the last couple of games, as you said. They've been using the same 5 or 6 guys, and it's going to take 2 kind of fluky players to put it over, like a Michael Robinson type or something like that. You're right. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
What's your opinion with going with stuff with higher juice like that? Where do you stand with stuff like that?
It depends. A lot of times when I'm betting, I try to avoid juice when necessary, but I also have the theory that you don't pay juice if you lose.
That's true. It's all winnings if you're on the right side.
Exactly. You see something like that and you like it a lot, I think by all means take it. Now, I'm not one of the kind of people who are going to lay $800 to win $100 on there will not be a safety in the Super Bowl, even though I think it's going to win. But I think anything for a prop in the Super Bowl between minus between like anything plus or minus 200. I think you could do that.
All right. So those
How
are
mad are you gonna be if Russell Wilson gets a pass deflected and
catches it himself. Yeah, I'd be furious. Or a gadget play where he's a receiver or something. Like, I don't think Seattle's ever done that, but yeah, something really fluky like that. That would ruin my mood for a good 10-15 minutes. I'm sure while I'm watching the game.
You know, you're reminding me of one of the most fun prop bets every Super Bowl is over under 2.5 players to attempt a pass in the game.
Yes, I remember that, and so that was accounting for whether you thought one of the quarterbacks was going to get injured or if there was a halfback pass. Or was that back when Antoine Randall was still in the Steelers?
Yeah, Antoine Randall won a lot of people some money with that. He actually all he has to do is throw a pass for it to win. He threw a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I remember that one. That was a fun one.
That's always a problem. But I was actually thinking about that prop. I don't see anybody else on any of these teams who really throws the ball. I think Lynch might have tried one trick play this year. I don't see him trying that. But again, it's like an injury thing. If one of the guys gets injured, I'm staying away. But that's just always a lot of fun to watch for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no way Denver's having anybody but Peyton throw a ball. I don't know if Seattle's hadn't tried any gadget plays or something, anything like that. So maybe Golden Tate threw one at some point. Who knows? So those are my three. You gave us three. Is there any others you'd like for Sunday?
I got two more. I'll give them to you as a group. So we can wrap this up. They're both Russell Wilson props. The first one is I like Russell Wilson's first completion to be under 9.5 yards. I think that for a young guy like him, only in his second professional season, it's important to get him some confidence, let him complete a couple small passes first before you send him throwing a bomb down the field. And I think one of the things that Seattle can absolutely not afford to do is turn the ball over early in the game. And I don't think they're going to have Wilson chucking the ball too deep, at least to start, until he gets his feet wet a little bit. So I like his first pass to be a dump ball, maybe 6-yard tight end kind of pass or slant or something like that. But I like it to be under 9.5 yards.
I like that too. I'm looking at his stats on the season. He's averaging 8.2 yards per completion there. So that certainly would get you under that 9.5 number, even regardless of the game situation, like you mentioned, trying to get him comfortable on the big stage. And I think with Seattle's probable plan being the kind of clock control game situation that the Chargers used in the regular season to beat the Broncos, I agree with you. They're probably going to do a lot of short passing games, keep the chains moving, and try to beat Denver that way. So I like that side.
The final one I like is Russell Wilson plus 10 completions against Peyton Manning.
So whatever Russell finishes with, add 10 to that, and you think that's going to be higher than Peyton's final total?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, I think the shortened, both teams are going to run the ball a lot. The shortened game is going to play into this a lot. I think Russell Wilson is going to throw the ball a little bit more than people think he's going to, because Denver does not have one player that grades above average on the metrics in their secondary, and they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit. The 10 is a lot. That's a big discrepancy. I think Peyton Manning is going to have about 25 completions in this game, and I think Russell Wilson can get to 68 for sure.
All right. Well, let's take a look at what their lines are as far as their number of completions. So Peyton.
The lines are going to be skewed. Because Russell Wilson had a couple games this year where he completed like 9 passes the entire game because the team was just in control, and the defense was in control, and they were winning. He didn't have to throw the ball at all.
Right, but I mean, the completion lines for this game specifically. So Peyton's at 27 and 27 completions, and let's see what Russell Wilson's at 16 and a half. So that's right in line with that 10 number that you threw out. So you think, I don't know, the one thing I like about that is even if Denver's ahead, that means that Seattle's probably going to have to throw to catch up, and Peyton and that Denver offense is probably going to be running the ball a little more, try to run out some clock. And then if Seattle's winning, then they probably got there by completing some balls along the way. So the only thing that would maybe keep Peyton ahead by that many completions, over 10 completions against Russell Wilson, would be if it's a close game and Seattle succeeding through running the ball, whereas the Broncos are succeeding through throwing the ball, which I don't know. It's kind of a coin flip for me. I don't know if I'm ready to go there. I haven't seen them really unleash Russell Wilson in that passing attack yet, and they might have to in this game, but I haven't seen it yet. So
fair enough.
That's a no play for me. But you are the NFL handicapper, and you certainly got the best of me when we disagreed on stuff during the season. So
yeah, but this is your redemption. This is when you redeem yourself.
That's right. This is when I double down on the Super Bowl and I win it all back. Because that's what all smart bettors do.
So this was good. We had a couple we agreed on, a couple we didn't as much disagree on, and then we had a couple on our own. So that's a perfect slate for each of us.
All right, I like it. So So those are your props. What's your plans for the game Sunday?
Excuse me?
So those are your props you like. What's your plans for the game Sunday?
I think we're just going to do something local. Usually do something with family, but my cousin decided not to do it this year. So we got a friend who actually just lives a couple blocks away, so that's a benefit is that the alcohol consumption does not have to be limited because we will be walking to the game. But yeah, just a couple friends watching the game, ordering a Mexican food or whatever, but something low key, but still fun.
All right, sounds good, man.
How about you tell everyone about your awesome plans for the game?
Yes, for everyone out there listening, I will be in New Orleans, getting out of this cold weather. Super Bowl comes to the cold weather, I'm going to the warm weather, and I can't imagine a better situation to head down to Bourbon Street and find a nice watering hole down there to enjoy some NFL football.
That sounds wonderful. Have a hurricane for me while you're down there.
I will. I'll have quite a few of them for you. So,
all right.
Well, Dan, thanks for joining us. Hopefully those props are winners for everybody out there, and enjoy the game Sunday.
And thanks everyone for listening to everything we've done this year. This might be our last one, or this will be our last one for football. We'll see you guys next year.
All right, take care.